Let's see. Just because I do want to be better about doing things that we said last week, at least bringing it up and
Okay.
not just forgetting
What did we
it.
say we would do last week?
Last week I was watching the USA versus Japan baseball game.
Oh
The
yeah,
World Baseball Championship. Japan ended up winning 3-2.
Dang.
It was a great game. Oh.
Yeah, because Japan had been up when we left.
Yeah, and actually, the very end of the game was actually probably one of the coolest sports moments in recent years that I can remember happened.
Yeah.
To end the game. So Japan has who is considered to be the best baseball player in the world right now. It's this guy named Shohei Ohtani, and he's like one of the best pitchers and he's one of the best hitters. Like he plays both.
That's
which
cool.
is like the only other person historically known for that was Babe Ruth. He pitched and he hit, but he's like amazing at both. And so he played in the field for Japan in the game, so he wasn't pitching. But at the very end of the game, he switched to pitch, like the last inning of the game, to like seal the win for them because they're up 3-2. And he gets 2 outs, and then so he needs one more out, and his teammate comes up to bat from like Major League Baseball, who is considered to be the second best baseball player in the world.
Cool.
And like because they're on the same team, you never see these guys play against each other. And so it was just really cool for this entire like World Baseball Championship tournament to come down to the best player in the world versus the second best player in the world. Like, and he was throwing him 100-mile-per-hour fastballs like right down the middle, basically just like, hey man, I'm giving you everything I got. Let's see what you got. And the USA lost. Japan won. Yeah.
Did he just strike him out or what?
He struck him out. Yep.
Damn. Oh man.
But it was a really cool sports moment just to see because like you never see those two guys play again. It's pretty rare in baseball to see something like that happen. It was
yeah,
exciting.
that is really interesting.
Even though the US lost, it was still cool.
Yeah, are you cheering for the USA losing? What the hell, commie?
Oh no, I was hoping Mike Trout was gonna smash a home run off.
Oh, was that who was playing Mike Trout?
Mike Trout was the guy that he was pitching to. That's who's considered probably the second best player in the world. Yeah.
Is Mike Trout? Where does he rank historically as like the best player? Is he like better?
I mean, you can make an argument both of those guys would probably be a top 10 players all time.
I'm asking who's your like number one if you had to pick one, or who's your like top? Could you do 5?
I mean, a lot of people might not like it, but honestly, the best baseball player that ever lived was probably Barry Bonds.
Really?
That guy was ridiculous.
Why would people not like that?
Just because the steroids shit with him, but like,
yeah,
he was an amazing player. His stats, when you look at them, are just absurd compared to other guys. That's the first one that comes to mind. My personal favorite player of all time is Ken Griffey Jr.
Ken
Griffey Jr. He played for the Seattle Mariners and then the Cincinnati Reds.
Somebody else, yeah.
He played for the Cincinnati Reds, which is my favorite team. It was actually really cool. He went there because his dad played for the team. And he actually made it to Cincinnati while his dad was still playing. So they played for a little bit on the same team together, which is pretty cool. Yeah.
That's got to be cool.
That might happen next year. LeBron James's son will probably
motherfucking cocksucker, dude. I can't believe that fucking asshole. Hey. Well, look who it is.
No. People can't see, but Chris just joined us quietly in the background.
Yes, I did.
Welcome. Hey, I got to close my door real quick.
Yeah, no worries. I was just talking about
I'll be right back. You guys chat for a second.
And I mentioned that LeBron James's son is like next year. He's probably the year after that. He'll probably go to the NBA, and it'll be one of the rare instances in professional sports where a father likely plays with his son on the same team. So it'll be kind of interesting.
Indeed.
Yeah. Let's see. We were recapping from last. I was saying at the beginning, I want to be better about if we say something like, "Hey, we'll remember this for next week." I want to try to remember to at least bring it up and not forget about it because I feel like we do that a lot.
Gotcha.
So Japan beat the U.S. in the World Baseball Classic. I was watching that during the last podcast. And the other thing that I brought up was I had this piece of litter that I found on the mountain near my house in the park, and all that's on it, I guess you weren't here, Chris, but all that's on it is a guy's name and his email address. That's it.
Did you email him? Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah.
Well, what I said last week was if we could come up with any good ideas of what I should say to the guy, or like how we should go about this, or if we should do anything. Maybe it's just a stupid idea, but
Just be like, hey, do you want to join us for a podcast? We record Tuesdays at...
I think that we came up with that last week, and that did sound probably like maybe the best idea was like ask them for an interview, don't really tell them why, or maybe come up with a bullshit reason why, and then once we get them in the interview, bam! Why did we find this piece of paper with your name on it?
Nail him to the wall. I think it would be more interesting to do like
some real reporting.
to do a less hard hitting, but just a more curious like Everything is Alive type podcast. So yeah, what brought you to the hill? What were you doing on the hill? You know, what?
We could do it like that. We could.
What's
treat
your
this
afternoon
like?
like?
Yeah, we could treat this like that. You want to do like a fake?
No,
pretend to be
not
this
like
guy?
I want to do it real with that guy. Just do it in that tone, you know.
Oh, I see.
Like a more
he's
curious-
He's speaking as the piece of trash that he left.
No,
on
no,
the mountain.
no. Just like we could just go ask the guy, like, hey, yeah, what brought you to the hill? What are you doing?
Oh yeah.
Oh, what's your life like in Vegas? Oh yeah, where blah blah blah. You know, just kind of chat casually.
Okay, yeah, that could work.
I think he'd probably be more receptive. I feel
Alright,
like if
well-
we
We'll draft something up before the next podcast, then we'll let you guys know what we said.
All right.
Well, 2 podcasts. Speaking of which, Chris, it's just you and me next week. We're riding solo.
Yeah, if you're doing it on Tuesday, I won't be able to.
Yeah. Tuesday,
Join.
that's going to be difficult, but maybe.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sweet. Hour and a half monologue. It's going to be sick.
Can you do it?
No.
I'm
I
coming
did
back.
it.
I
Coming
did it
back
once,
from
didn't I?
traveling that day.
Yeah, you did. I still have that
Just fucking throw that one up.
secretly somewhere. Yeah. I
Just
could.
waiting to blackmail me.
I'm pretty sure I called you during that.
I think you did, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you did, yeah. Sorry, Chris, what'd you say?
I'm coming back from visiting some family that day, so I can't promise I'll be back at an appropriate time.
Maybe we could do it while you're on the road. What about that? I can carry it. I mean, you mostly just hit us with and anyway, so.
He's gonna be like playing a clip. He's gonna be like, "What do you think about that, Chris?"
Skirt!
Chris, yeah, he's... Oh man, damn it! I don't have a car crash. I need a car crash sound effect.
Hilarious
Oh,
sound
the
effect.
perfect.
What?
All right. Well, to the podcast. Did either of you have anything specific you wanted to talk about this
No,
week?
I do not.
I was gonna look more into it, but I could spit a little bit about silicon-based life and like the chemistry behind that. I've been learning more about that lately, so I could
Do
talk
you
on
want to
that.
lecture us about it, or just have like a discussion? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I'd be down to just have a discussion.
Like,
What do you guys know about organic
Have
chemistry?
you just been getting interested in that recently, or something?
I just watched a video today and have kind of been thinking a little bit about, I guess, xenochemistry. Like what other chemistry could look like that fosters life. Because you know how like everybody says carbon-based life. And I'm just kind of curious, like, is that just because carbon-based life kicked off that makes it prevalent for that to be the form of life in this area? Or is there other habitable zones of the universe elsewhere where other like chemical forms of life could take place? And so I found a neat video about silicon.
It's like Project
Based
Hail
life.
Mary, right?
Yeah, basically. And I don't know, xenobiology is an interesting thing to think about, I would
Do you
say.
think it's possible? Or theoretically,
yeah.
has anybody like proved that it's possible?
So, I mean, based on this video that I was watching, I would say it's possible. It's less likely than like
Is it
carbon.
more like they can't prove that it's impossible, or is it like
No, it's just like the chemistry of it is more difficult. It's more tricky, and like the chemicals needed for life would be harder to come by. It would probably take a lot longer and would be less likely to generate life, but if the chances are very, very, very high that happens, like
I mean, how specific were they getting with this? I'm curious what they mean by like life, like you know what I mean? Like
so I like that that's what you want to argue with.
What qualifies something as life? I don't know, like
I think they're looking at it mostly from
like conscious or like free will choice, kind of. Like...
Oh no, they're talking about like microbial life or whatever. Like viruses would probably be counted.
Guess you could.
They're talking about
free will, but
yeah, I don't know. Do bacteria have free will?
That's another interesting topic.
That's a really good
clue.
I would be very down to debate that sometime. But anyways, this guy was talking about like, do viruses have free will? That's an even better one. And then if viruses do or don't, do bacteria. Anyway, this guy was talking about like what makes carbon such a good thing, a good element to be a base of life, is that it bonds really readily with a lot of stuff, which the only other prominent element is silicon that does that. So silicon really would be the only thing that could probably base life. But what makes carbon so nice is the stuff that bonds with it can be dissolved in water. And so water allows a lot of shucking and jiving for little molecules to do cool shit in, basically, which allows like complex strands like DNA to form up over time. And silicon doesn't.
Basically looking at what type of elements could be a base for like a complex, a lot of different complex.
Yeah, what could host like complex molecules?
And you said silicon.
Silicon's like the only other one that seems like a realistic possibility. Like, because he was describing it like if it's argon or something, a noble gas, those don't like to bond with anything. And so it's very unlikely that you're going to find that just floating around in any natural, like, liquid of life, primordial soup, you know, of hydrocarbons or whatever. So it's like, it's extremely unlikely that that's going to form. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. So it was interesting. I don't know. Like I said, let me do some more research and maybe I can get back to you. But that might be about all there is to know.
No, that sounds interesting.
Because I think what's really interesting with that is, I mean, the idea that you could have a brain that is like silicon based rather than like ours based. And so could you have a like living creature, I guess, that is a computer, that is like a natural computer, you know?
Like AI?
Yeah, I guess so. Well, I mean, it wouldn't be artificial. Like,
yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah. Anti-AI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of, dude, the AI is just like it seems like every week I see something more and more where I'm like, wow, this stuff's getting like better, quicker. Like,
yeah,
I'm interested to see in a couple of years. Like, it's gonna be ridiculous.
Yeah, it's
like, I mean, it's pretty
scary,
much to the point where anybody can make a video looking like anyone else and sound like them,
saying and doing anything.
It looks legit. I would say that I can still tell, but like, they're to the point now where I'm like, that's pretty like close.
I would say I can usually still tell, but a lot of my telling is by context. Like, there's something that gets said that I'm like, oh, that person wouldn't say it in that terms or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's very scary, I would say.
What if the military perfected this like years ago?
And, dude.
And like they're already using it? Hold on, crazy conspiracy. Joe Biden is an AI computer. You've never seen him in person, have you?
100% true. I believe it without a question.
Yeah.
I will say I'm sure that the military has this shit though, or has like a more advanced version of
you would
it.
think they're ahead of most
Yes.
people and that stuff.
I think they're ahead of the curve pretty much, almost always.
Not that they're going to tell us that necessarily.
Right,
Probably.
exactly. Definitely not.
Which good. I don't want them to tell me everything. I think that's a good thing. Probably.
They should have
like,
some secrets. They're
for
the
them to have
military.
secrets, yeah.
Yeah. Until a game about tanks needs to know.
Let's make a new law that once a year the military has to tell us one big secret. It'll be like a big press conference.
Well, I mean, documents are declassified all the time.
Yeah,
They do tell
true.
you secrets. They're just like, what, 40 years old?
Yeah, and they try to make it boring so nobody pays attention.
Well, it's also so fucking old nobody cares. How long do does stuff stay classified for?
I mean, I'm sure some
25
stuff stays
years.
classified forever, right?
25
Ah.
years.
Is that for everything?
That's for automatic declassification protocols. So no, I'm sure there's other stuff too.
Yeah, like isn't there? I think there's a bunch of stuff about JFK that's supposed to come
At
out.
50 years, there are 2 exceptions, and classifications beyond 75 years require special permission.
Yeah, I'm sure there's stuff that's over 100 years old that we're not ever gonna know. Like,
Yeah. After 25 years,
Perma-classified.
declassification review is automatic with 9 narrow exceptions that allow information to remain as classified. Curious what those exceptions are. Man, government just has this out on a website. You can just go look it up.
If you got a phone call or somebody started banging on your door right now, it's like you need to shut the hell up, boy.
Shut it down. Shut it down.
You're learning
No
too
good?
much about
No
the
good? No
classified system here. We heard you guys talking about Area 51 a couple weeks ago. This podcast is going off the rails.
Oh, dude, I'm down to dive down some government rabbit holes. Let's do it.
Yeah, we should
Let's
do just
do
a
some
week
conspiracy shit.
where we come with the wildest conspiracies we can find to talk about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd be down with that.
But like try to find ones that people don't know about. They're out there.
They're definitely out there. It'd be cool to find some ones that are almost certainly true. There's a lot of those that are out there that are like very likely true.
Have you ever actually that's an interesting conspiracy theory. Have you heard the theory that the
Some are
FBI
put out-
government they intentionally put out
to
all these
debunk 'em.
ridiculous conspiracy theories that way they can call all of it conspiracy theory together. So like
Yeah.
even when somebody says something
It
that's like,
discredits
oh, that
it.
actually seems legit.
Yeah.
If you hear conspiracy theory, a lot of people immediately are like, okay,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. I've heard this.
yeah. I mean, that seems like it could be true. I mean, I don't know how you'd prove that, but
I mean, I would say it's almost certain that. So, number one, for sure, Russia and Chinese do large-scale psyops on the
I was
American
going to say,
population.
is it called psyops? Is that what this
Yeah,
would be?
psyops. Yeah, and like that is not conspiracy theory shit. That is like
But
well
we're talking
known
about
in the
US
intelligence
doing
community.
it to their own citizens, which I would not be surprised.
I would say it's almost certain that the U.S. is doing because also businesses do it to us too.
I mean, it's
like-
you could also call it marketing, right?
Yeah, the lines between
Same
marketing
thing.
and psyops blur heavily. So
It's like calling something a conspiracy theory versus calling it fucked up shit that's horrible. You know what I
right,
mean?
yeah.
Calling it what it actually is. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. But yeah, it's very interesting, I would say, studying like so yeah, I would definitely say like it would not be surprising to think that certain American branches of government do that. And I mean, I'm pretty sure they have like the CIA, I'm sure has gotten caught up in psyop operations. They for sure like have conducted like fucked up
Well, I mean,
experiments on people and
The
shit.
Patriot Act, like, I don't know if that's like psyops, so that's just spying, right?
Yeah, that's mostly just
Yeah.
spying and mass
Yeah.
information gathering. Basically, the erosion of personal rights, privacy rights. I would say.
I know kind of a true conspiracy. The
What?
like all the Hollywood like military movies.
Oh yeah,
The military is
There's,
100% like
funds
helping
and
them
supports
out.
those.
Yeah, like
Yes,
making
yeah.
That's like
Yeah,
they
yeah,
treat
yeah.
it like it's like an advertisement. For,
Top
like,
Gun
people
is
to
a
wanna join.
commercial. Yes.
Top Gun last year.
Top
Yeah,
Gun's a
absolutely,
commercial.
yeah.
Oh yeah, the military recruitment rates go up like in
Oh yeah.
in
I mean,
lockstep
how many
with that
kids would
shit.
probably like, I want to be a jet pilot now? Yeah.
Dude, me, I'm signing up.
Too bad Four Eyes.
I've looked it up. I think I actually could be a jet pilot at one point. I was
Have
looking
you-
up being a pilot at one point.
Have
I
you
do
ever seen
recall.
Little Miss Sunshine?
Yes.
The
Where the kid is colorblind.
The son is he's like taking a vow of silence until
Oh
he becomes a jet
he's
pilot.
not speaking.
And he's like, they're on a road trip and he finds out he's colorblind when they're at the doctor's office.
Dude,
And then somebody
very
else
touching
is like,
scene.
wow, you can't be a pilot if you're colorblind. And he it's like
He breaks
Paul
down.
Dano. He's a pretty famous actor. He played
Oh wow, that's Paul Dano.
yeah, it's
The
Paul
fucking
Dano.
Riddler.
He played Riddler in the newest Batman. Yeah, but he there's an emotional scene of him running
Him
out to the end of
breaking
this
down.
dock, and he just goes like, "Fuck!" And it's like the first thing you hear him say the whole movie.
That's such a
Funny,
good movie.
very funny movie.
Beautiful movie.
Yeah.
I gotta step away for a second. Sorry.
Classic Scout. I should, man, one of these days I would love to get a mass, all the time Scout's like, I gotta step away for a second. I gotta go pee. And just get a 5-minute video of him doing that.
I had to get my pills and my potions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay. It'll be what just happened will be greatly added to a clip compilation eventually.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Can't wait. Can't wait for it.
But yeah. Yeah, I guess those are some true conspiracies off the top of my head. But I would be interested sometime to come into it with having done a little preparation.
Yeah.
About some stuff.
You know what's a fun one? These ones used to get me a lot when I was younger. The ones where some dude invents something that runs an engine on water or whatever.
Oh yeah,
and then 3 days later turns up dead. Dude, it
that
is
sounds
so
like bullshit
interesting.
to me.
Yeah, if you actually look at it and look into the science,
Yeah,
there's years of scientists being like, no, he didn't do it. He said he was close, but he wasn't.
Also, you're telling me only
no.
one guy would have figured that out?
Yeah.
Bullshit.
No.
Bullshit.
No.
So many people would have fucking figured that one out by now.
It's just funny. As I've gotten
I have
more
heard
into
that.
science, and started to research that shit. Anytime somebody claims something miraculous, it's like, false. No, not true. Let me see 2 peer-reviewed papers on that shit. I don't believe it. There was a big one within the past decade was the M drive. Did you ever hear about that? Walker's like, holy shit, we did not land on the moon? The M drive was this spacecraft engine that created energy and propulsion from nothing. It drew it from the vacuum background or something like that. And dude, the second it came out, I was like, that sounds incredible. It's got to be bullshit. It can't be real. And over the course of 10 years of testing and shit, it's become okay, it's not, doesn't actually provide thrust. It's just funny. Yeah. People be wanting things to be magic, but they ain't.
Stupid science bitch couldn't even make I more smarter.
Nice. Nice. Quick on the draw, as always. Oh, really? Well, let's take a break then. Yeah, let's stop and take a break and we'll start again. Well, I'm still recording, it says.
Same. Yep.
Huh. Well, this will be a cool episode.
Okay then.
It says we're still recording. It never
Yeah.
said we stopped.
Yeah. Okay. Now it's recording again. Now that I jump back in, cool.
Okay, sweet.
That's good to know. That's how that works in the future. In the future,
I
that's
kind
one
of want
thing
to look
about
at the
this.
code of this stuff.
Yeah, it records everything on each person's individually, and also like on the Wi-Fi. So like it's like a backup for if like you lose internet or something, it'll still record whatever you're saying.
Interesting. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
doing it locally and also
Yeah,
storing the backup. Yeah.
for sure.
Neat. Neato.
I got a new segment I came up with. I think you guys will like.
Oh yeah.
Chris. Whoa.
I think
okay.
Chris will especially like it.
Chris just
I think
texted me
both
a
of
bunch
you
of
will wanna
directions for
contribute to
Easter
it.
church shit.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, you're fine. I'm just like, what the fuck
Clearly,
is this?
clearly double tasking right now.
Is that?
I
you think
was like,
that
what is
You
this?
think that's what the preachers tell everyone? They're like, all right, guys, we just texted all the church shit for Easter.
I guess so, dude.
Yeah.
That's
Alright,
funny.
hold on.
Sorry, what were you saying? What is this?
Hold on, I'm pulling up. I got a new intro and segment here. Share.
It's time for Badasses of History.
I bet Qing Shi is Chinese. Am I right?
She
It
is.
seems like a
She
Chinese
is.
name.
Yeah.
Chinese are fucking cool. The Chinese are sick.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah,
history.
you got any? Do you either of you know who that is? Xing Chi or she?
No.
No.
Qing Shi. So she is arguably the greatest pirate that ever lived.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. All right.
China's
so,
had some piracy problems
this chick's badass. Honestly,
She probably
makes
led like a
Blackbeard
nation.
she makes Blackbeard look kind of
Yeah.
like.
She probably led like a pirate nation or some shit, I bet.
Oh yeah. Well, let's hear about her. At the dawn of the 19th century, a former prostitute from a floating brothel in the city of Canton was wed to Cheng I, a fearsome pirate who operated in the South China Sea in the Qing. Is that how you say it? Qing Dynasty? Dynasty, I guess.
How's it spelled?
I don't know. I hope I don't mess
Q-
a lot of these
Q-I-N-G?
Chinese names up.
King. Yeah, King.
Yeah, King. All right. Her name, Qing Shi, simply means Cheng's widow, but the legacy she left behind far exceeded that of her husband. She was also known as Cheng Yi Sao and Zhang Yi Sao. Following her husband's death, she succeeded him and commanded over 1,800 pirate ships
Holy
and an
shit.
estimated 80,000 men. For comparison, the famed Blackbeard commanded 4 ships and 300 men.
Yeah,
She was-
80,000 men is like an army. That's a
insane.
sizable
Yeah.
navy.
1,800 ships, yeah. She was arguably the greatest pirate who ever lived. She pirated longer, she made more money, she surrendered of her own free will and got to keep her money, and she lived the rest of her days in freedom, as opposed to being cornered and murdered by the government like Blackbeard.
So that's definitely nation state status. If the government of a legitimate country negotiates with you and allows you to live peaceably to get you to stop, that's nation state status, I would say.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
I mean, not legally. I'm saying
Oh, I
that
see, I
right
see.
now. That's not. Yeah.
Cheng's husband, Cheng I, was the formidable commander of the Red Flag fleet of pirate ships. He had managed to unite many rival Chinese pirate organizations. He married the 26-year-old Qing Shi in 1801, and Qing participated fully in her husband's piracy. The story goes that Cheng sought out his bride due to her reputation as a shrewd businesswoman. Qing Shi apparently used the secrets she learned as a prostitute to wield power over her wealthy and politically connected clients. There are no primary Chinese sources to support this tale, but Qing Shi's financial savvy certainly became undeniable over the course of her career in piracy. It is rumored that Qing Shi demanded equal control of the pirate fleet as a condition of her marriage to Cheng I in 1801. Where business acumen starts to display itself is in the way she became the overall head of the entire confederation. Female pirate leaders were rare, and they're only aware of one other woman commander, Miss Han Cho Lo, who was active in Hong Kong during the first half of the 20th century.
Whoa.
6 years into their marriage, Cheng I died at 42. Not much is known about how he passed. Some accounts indicate that he was killed at sea by a tsunami, while others insinuate that he was murdered in Vietnam. Regardless of the circumstances, his death left Qing Shi in a precarious position. Her husband's adoptive son and heir, Cheng Po Sai, was originally the one to inherit control of the Red Flag Fleet. Cheng Po Sai, however, was more than just Qing Shi's stepson. The young fisherman had also been her husband's lover. Though a sexual relationship between an adoptive son and his father may seem unusual, the adoption itself was not out of place. Unlike in the West, adult adoption was often practiced in China in order to establish kinship basis for further interaction, particularly of a business or a discipleship sort. Cheng I adopted an adolescent fisherman's son, and it was not too out of the ordinary. Within weeks of Cheng I's death, Qing Shi had taken Cheng Po as her lover as well, eventually solidifying the relationship through marriage. Soon, she managed to maneuver herself back into power and obtained leadership of the Red Flag Fleet. As a woman in command of a huge pirate fleet, Qing Shi had her work cut out for her. Pirate vessels often had a few women on board, but it is not clear to what extent they were or were not practicing pirates. Unlike in the West, in South China there was no stigma attached to women being on board a ship or any fear that it was bad luck for the ship. Nevertheless, it wouldn't have been easy for anyone, much less a pirate's widow, to control so many outlaws. An East India Company employee named Richard Glasspool was captured by Qing Shi's pirates in September 1809 and held until December of that year. In his account of the ordeal, he estimated that there were 80,000 pirates under her command and some 1,000 junks and 800 smaller junks and rowboats. I guess that's what they called a boat type. Qing Shi unified her enormous fleet of pirates using a code of laws. The code was strict. Any pirate giving his own orders or disobeying those of a superior was to be beheaded on the spot. The code was particularly unusual in its laws regarding female captives. If a pirate raped a female captive, he would be put to death. If the sex between the two is consensual, both were put to death. Wow.
Wow. If you rape somebody, believe it or not, death. You have sex with somebody, death.
Yeah, dude. I look forward
You
to
disobey your captain, death.
Yeah, I look forward to putting that clip from Parks, or the picture of that from Parks and Rec on there.
What's the other one? Straight to prison. Straight to jail. Is that the same
the
guy?
funny one, he's like, overcooked chicken, straight to jail. Undercooked fish, also straight to jail. It's ridiculous. There are further accounts of Qing Shi's code that state that if a pirate took a captive as his wife, he was required to be faithful to her, although others say that captains had multiple wives. Whatever they thought about her, it does seem clear that the pirates respected and obeyed her authority. The Red Flag Fleet under Qing Shi's rule was undefeated, despite attempts by the Qing dynasty officials, the Portuguese Navy, and the East India Company to vanquish it. After 3 years of notoriety on the high sea, Qing Shi finally retired in 1810 by accepting an offer of amnesty from the Chinese government. Woo!
This would be a cool HBO series.
That's what I'm saying, dude. Or
like
a movie,
fucking,
yeah.
Oh, dude, I've thought about writing a series with a female pirate leader.
I mean, it's
think you could. It's fucking awesome. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
Oh, nothing. There's only a little bit more than we can discuss.
Yeah, go ahead.
What precipitated the surrender seems to have been internecine conflict. I don't know what the fuck. Between the Black and Red fleets and their leaders, which first led to the surrender of the Black Flag Fleet and then ultimately to the Red Flag Fleet. I imagine that given the amounting pressure from outside their suppression and internal loss of cohesion, she finally realized that the time had come that she needed to give up. Qing Shi died in 1844 at the ripe age of 69. The legacy she left behind from the time of her rule has penetrated popular culture. She even inspired a character in the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, the powerful Mistress Ching, one of the nine pirate lords. While nothing is known about the years she spent following her retirement, one can only hope she spent her last days in peace and anonymity away from the harrowing life on the seas where she made her name. And that is the badassery of Qing Shi.
When was she active?
It said 1801 to 1809 or 10 was when she...
For some reason, I thought it was way earlier. I thought it would be like 1200s
no.
or something. 1800s. Fuck yeah, that would be a sick series, dude. That would be awesome. Internecine, or internecine, or whatever. Destructive to both sides in a conflict.
Oh, okay. How did you pronounce it?
Let me look that up.
I'd never heard that word.
Internecine.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, I've never heard that either, but it's a good word to know.
She retired in 1810, so she was active for like 9 years or so.
Dude, that would be fucking sick. That would be a cool series. You could have her meet with Blackbeard for like an episode or two at one point. Or something.
That wouldn't be very historically accurate, but it would be
who gives a fuck, though?
Cool fictional series, yeah.
Yeah. I guess not Blackbeard, but a Pacific pirate, maybe. I don't know any Pacific pirates, but surely there were some.
Sure you do. You know Qing Shi now.
I do know Qing Shi. Well, she was a pirate in the South China Sea, Walker. I don't know if you paid attention.
That's not the East?
I actually don't know my seas very well. Chris, you can chime in anytime there, Captain.
Like Asia, but... Yeah, what do you think, Chris? You're a history guy. What do you think of the story of Qing Shi?
I mean, yeah, they did have a very worldwide, far-fetching fleet. They had the capability.
I never really heard much about like the Chinese Navy or anything like that.
Yeah.
So
Huge.
Yep.
Huge.
Yep.
Huge.
At the time.
Yeah. At one point,
still
it mentioned
currently
the Portuguese Navy, and I was like,
also
wow,
huge.
they were a pretty big deal back then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, the Chinese have kind of pretty much always been a superpower, honestly. Even when they're like warring with each other, they're still usually pretty strong globally. Or regionally, at least. And then now globally.
Yeah, they're just such a central location for all those countries, and it's so big. Yeah, like all the countries in Asia, I mean, a lot of them border China.
Yeah.
They got the most people besides India.
I wonder what predictable factors go into a nation being a superpower. Like if there's surely like access to a port is something. Like you can't become a superpower if you have no sea land, right? That's got to be true.
Yeah,
right?
actually, that kind of reminds me. I was watching a video earlier where a guy was basically making the argument that the U.S. has all the building blocks in place to be like formidable for like a long time, and like we could potentially like, you know, still be the greatest country on earth for a long time, or at least like we just have a lot of advantages. One of them was like the whole eastern seaboard has so many barrier islands around it that we have all these natural ports already made for us, whereas like all these a lot of the other countries, they have to build ports, which costs a ton of money.
Right.
Where we're getting that protection, so like it's already naturally there. You know, invading the U.S., as I'm sure you know, would be insanely
horrible.
impossible for anyone to do. Yeah.
Could you imagine? I mean, the advice is always never get into a land war in Asia. Could you fucking imagine getting into a war in the U.S.? Oh my god, dude!
Where I don't know how many people own guns here, but yeah, you also have the armed population that you don't have in a lot of other places. Yeah.
Armed and trained population that's ever existed. Oh yeah. Honestly,
it wouldn't be good.
Invading the U.S. would be fucking horrible. It would be such.
Only way they would be able to do it I would think would be like just mass destruction real quick, where like you can't even respond. Like, which even after a nuclear strike, to defend that, yeah.
Just geographically, rather, it's such a fucking shitty proposition. Logistically, you have a huge ocean you have to cross, and then holding a beachhead is going to be shitty anywhere.
Yeah. But it was I should send you. Would actually probably find that a pretty interesting video. But they talked about, like, if you look at all the major tech companies, they're all American companies. Like, America is the breeding ground for like innovation and entrepreneurial, that type of.
We are the global economy.
Essentially, yeah.
It sucks to say, but we are the global economy.
Yeah, like, and the guy in the video is like, look at the top, tech companies. Like, hardly any of them are in Europe or anywhere else. They're all American. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that sets us up pretty well going forward.
Also, our military spending, like, I bitch about our military spending. It's wild, our military spending. It's very wasteful. But it also, even if you trim the fat and cut the waste, it is phenomenal how much more we spend on military than any other country. Like, our military, the amount we put into development and implementation of technological dominance, absolute.
I think a lot of people don't realize
dominance,
that.
True dominance. Yeah. Our military,
the military is not
so
just buying,
capable.
it's not just weapons and wars. It's like information and technology. Yeah.
Every aspect of our military infrastructure
GPS
is the best
technology
in the world.
Was a military invention.
Yes. Also a space invention.
What do you mean a space invention?
GPS, it's like designed to be with a satellite. You have to have satellites to have GPS. You can't have functional GPS without having
but the military invented it. Space didn't invent it.
Well, it's a space technology, I'm saying.
Yeah.
No, space didn't invent it. Any advanced technology the military had 10 years before we heard about it. The internet, fucking cell phones, like any encryption that you have, any cool thing that your computer does, the military had it 10 years before we ever heard about it. Yeah. Do you know, actually that would be a fun episode. Do you know what DARPA is?
I've heard of it. Definitely have heard of it. I cannot tell you.
Let me double check. Defense Advanced Research Project Agency. And they create future shit. It is scary, the stuff they made. Like, they made robots like 10 years before Boston Dynamics was making shit. And they like recently have started putting out like jetpacks and shit like that. They make all the most advanced scary weaponry that we could never conceive of. The like SR-71 Blackbird, I'm pretty sure, is a DARPA. Actually, I'm curious if I can find a list of their shit. But that would be a cool episode to do, just like crazy future military tech. Yeah, experimental space planes.
But yeah, we also have all the resources we need in America. Like, we have plenty of ability to grow enough food for ourselves. Like,
we don't need to import much.
Yeah. Like, yeah, honestly, like, the guy just goes through checklists, and it's like, the U.S. is pretty well set up for almost everything.
Our real imports are just, like, cheap Chinese shit. Cheap, like, convenience, really. Which, in a time of war,
China was the only country he brought up that was, like, had the potential. But he was like, with the way their government is right now, probably not. Like, it would need some type of change for...
What did he suggest? What kind of change? Because I'd be curious how...
Well, he
Yeah, what
also
was his thoughts on
apparently. Do you know how much of a large portion of the Chinese economy is based around housing? Like 30% of the economy is like housing.
What
Many
is that?
invested in that.
Do you know what that is compared to in America?
Yes, I do, because he brings it up. He says in America, to compare it to like the financial crisis they were having in 2008, it was about 7% of the economy in the United States. So like, and China's in a really sketchy spot with their housing market right now. And if that crashed at 30% of their economy, like
That's bad.
yeah, that would be a
Well,
lot.
I mean,
worse
their
than
regular
ours.
economy is also not good. Their government
Not as
cooks
good
the
as
books
ours,
a
yeah.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. Interesting.
But yeah, owning a house owning a home is like an extremely respected part of Asian culture, from my understanding, to the point
Yeah.
where like people will,
That's all people
way
want to do.
overextend themselves financially to like get a home or like secure a home. Like I think one of the biggest issues they've been having is these companies are taking money. People are basically fully paying them for like buildings that they haven't even built yet. And so they're wasting the money, and then they get to the point where they don't actually have the funds to build these buildings that their people have already paid them for.
Man.
And so,
I'd be
the
pissed.
government's going to have
I'd
to
be
like,
pissed.
yeah. Yeah. Also, apparently China's population is aging a lot right now. Their birth rate is very low there. So they're going to have to deal with a lot of like senior citizens and taking care of them soon.
That's another
Which we're also
interesting-
going to have to deal with.
Dude, population collapse is about to be the real fucking deal. It's going to be a real big problem for us. Yeah. It's going to be a scary situation, I think.
I have to apologize. I've been double tasking, triple tasking as this has been going on, but I have a little bit of a lull here in my work.
Yeah. I was going to say, normally you hit us with a or a huh. Haven't even gotten one of those.
Literally doing three things at the time right now. But a few things. China, I don't know if you pay attention to the news.
What's the news?
One of the things how China is going to supplant us as the world superpower, which they actively want to do, militarily,
Africa.
Economically, and influentially,
Yes.
is they just negotiated a peace treaty between Iran and Saudi Arabia. And it was the Chinese. We had nothing to do with it who brokered that agreement. Two countries that have historically hated each other. You also have China being very involved in a lot of the economies of African nations.
Yep.
Yes.
Very true.
And China controls.
I did know that.
Yep. China controls the lakes. I forget what the lakes are called, but the port facilities and the lakes on both sides of the Panama Canal.
Yep. I was going to say they're also friends in South America with people.
Yes, and China also wants the OPEC oil-producing, exporting countries to stop using dollars.
The petrodollar.
And
the petro yuan. The
and
petro
yuan.
yuan. Yeah.
And what that would do.
I've got theories about this.
Well, that would be an extreme torpedo to
That would
America's economy.
If you did that, you actually stood a chance of depegging America as the default
So they're going to do
business
it.
country.
Yeah, they're going to do it without military, face-to-face, one-on-one
Not
military confrontation. And then after they,
at first they are. At first,
if it gets to a point where
At first.
America's not just going to sit there and let it happen like that, though. Like,
well,
if it means
they
like a
have
military
actively
conflict,
they have actively said that they want to, reunify China. That's going to involve invading Taiwan.
Oh, Taiwan's a big deal.
And we have a treaty with Taiwan that says we're going to come to their military aid if they are attacked.
Yep.
And so everyone's going to be watching, and China has been
Which I believe
clear.
we will. I believe we would respond.
That may trigger a third world war.
Oh yeah, very, very possible.
So
they'll destroy the factories and we'll do a tactical withdrawal.
If we
do you know why Taiwan is so important right now?
Yes,
You
chips.
do? Chips, because they have all of the plants that are capable of making the high quality chips.
They have
most.
They have
of
the
them.
infrastructure and
Yeah.
the institutional know-how. That's what makes them the best. We're starting to
that's what I
develop
said.
that. Well, it's because you said like they have the factories, which they do have the factories, but they also have like 40 years of factory production knowledge.
Oh yeah.
But like
building a
the
chip factory is
Taiwanese
not just
will
like
flee
build
to
the
the US
factory
too.
and- yeah, it's complicated. Yeah.
Yeah. It takes generations of people to like learn how
Yeah.
to dial that shit. But like I will say, because I've looked into this a lot, I will say I also think the Taiwanese will destroy the factories and move their production to the U.S. If
Joe
that is, like,
Biden is,
what
or
it comes to.
they're trying to start building chip factories in the U.S.
We are, yeah, we're
because
investing
we
heavily.
understand how much of a national security threat that is.
Yes. And
Because
also, yeah, we need to have
Essentially,
control
if
over the
you
whole
have
product
access
line.
to the best chips in the world, you have the best military in the world. That's like
And you have access to
you have
every
the best
electronic.
technology. Yeah.
You have access to the electronic. Every electronic that uses those chips, you have some kind of access to. You can put backdoors in at some point. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
Yeah,
how.
it's Taiwan is an interesting place of potential global conflict,
Yes.
and
Very
more than likely,
interesting.
China's definitely gonna be the aggressor initially. There, it would appear, if something does happen.
We'll see. I'm not super sold that China would militarily get involved. I think they're actually trying to, if they could get somebody dragged in, if they could basically get NATO dragged into an all-out war with Europe, or with Russia, rather, sorry.
Yeah,
Because they're definitely like, they're trying to fund Russia and starting to like open up, cozying up to Russia,
yeah, they were hanging out last week, Putin and.
hanging out. They had milkshakes.
Oh, Putin, you're so funny.
He's so funny. But they were trying to broker a peace deal or some shit I was seeing.
Dude, another really interesting potential global conflict that I learned about this past week. Have you heard about the potential conflict between Ethiopia and Egypt?
No. Good old Ethiopia, though. Tell me
It's
more.
really interesting, dude. So the Egypt 100% relies on the Nile River, right? Like
Yeah,
that,
sure.
their entire, all the living people live around the
Everything
Nile River.
is
That's
built around
that
the
is
Nile.
all of their water, yeah.
Right.
But the Nile River does not start in Egypt. They do not have
Goes
access to the source
Ethiopia.
of the Nile. There's two sources. One of them is like the White Nile, but then the Blue Nile, which
Correct.
supplies apparently. They said like 80% of the water for the Nile up in Egypt comes from the Blue Nile and in Ethiopia up in the mountains.
Okay.
And so basically what happened is within the last, when did they build? Ethiopia was like, we're going to build a dam on the river. And it's going to take, and then we're going to spend the next 7 years filling up the dam before we release water downstream. And so they have built this dam and they are in the process of like filling it up right now. And from my understanding, luckily, like the rainfall's been good enough since they've done it to where it has not been an issue. But like, if there's a year of drought or two, like, and Egypt they're not willing to send water down there to go up through the Nile, like
Egypt's going to have to
the
go get some
entire
water.
country of Egypt could collapse very quickly.
Yeah,
So,
so
like-
they're going to have to go find some water.
Well, there's what most likely would happen is Egypt would send fighter jets to go blow up the dam
Okay.
to release.
'Cause I was
going
gonna
to
say,
release water,
What
which
does
would be a
Ethiopia's military
massive,
look like?
massive military aggression, which would make Egypt like an international pariah. But like, it could possibly get to the point where they really don't have another choice.
Dude, one of not my favorite books, but a book that I like a lot called The Water Knife, about the near future where people are having conflict about water, opens with a secret quasi-military strike on a dam to let water free so people can like
Yep.
drink.
Yeah. and
Does
so-
Ethiopia have a large military?
No,
Not
see,
like-
that's the one thing is military-wise, Egypt would destroy Ethiopia.
Does
They-
Ethiopia, because it's Somalia
Ethiopia
that has
has a lot
no
of,
government, right?
Ethiopia has a lot of internal conflict as well. There's a lot of they've had civil war in recent history. It might even
not to-
still, but
Yeah, like not to sound like a dick, but do they have a functional government right now, or is that I know Somalia?
I think they do.
is
No,
like,
Ethiopia is
does not.
on the come. They're on the up and up. Like They're
Okay.
starting to. I mean, that's what they built this dam. Now they're generating.
They're saving
tons
up
of
this
power,
water.
like-
Things are looking
well, they're
good for
generating
YouTube.
power with the dam as well. That I believe they're selling that power. Like, it's a lot.
Huh. Cool. Ethiopia seems cool.
But yeah, it's another interesting global potential conflict to look out for in the next decade.
Yeah, that is interesting.
And the U.S. would almost certainly be an ally with
We would
Egypt.
back
Egypt
yeah,
is one
there's
of
no way.
the U.S.'s strongest allies
Yeah.
because of the Suez Canal, the access to it.
Mm-hmm.
So, good old global
Global politics.
conflict,
Sociopolitics. Always fun. So, you guys see about these shootings? That's crazy.
Yeah,
The school one yesterday.
not great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you guys? I watched the video of the officers taking down the suspect. Did you see any of those videos?
I saw it, and I was like,
No, I did not see that.
I saw it, and I for a second was like, oh, I should watch that, and then I was like, I don't want to watch that. Like,
It's honestly,
I'm sure they did a great job, but it's really tragic. I don't want to watch that. And
definitely. So first of all, compared to like Uvalde or like the way the cops responded to Vegas, fuck those cops. These guys like went in. It was interesting to watch it from like I've been watching like videos of room clearing and shit lately, and tactical combat and shit like that. And dude, those cops were fucking trained and they did their shit. And like, dude, one of the cop that ended up taking down the shooter at one point, he like has the better rifle, and he like takes point and stuff. It's pretty interesting to see what well-trained police can do and how they can respond to a situation and like do shit effectively compared to when they can't sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, tragic situation.
Very tragic, awful, horrible.
Like I'm glad they responded like that, but it's kind of hard to celebrate anything revolving around something like that. Like
Dude, it sucks.
Yeah.
How often that shit happens in America.
Oh, it's great. I mean, guns are the number one death for kids now. Like,
Yeah,
it's the number one cause of death, I believe.
terrifying. That being said, I'm looking at a couple guns.
My God.
Yep. Firearms last year surpassed motor vehicles as the number one death for children.
Interesting.
Yeah. Pretty crazy. I wouldn't actually think that, but
That does not sound right to me. I'm curious where
it's-
that statistic comes from. How many kids die of guns in a year? I guess I'm curious because there's no way that just mass shootings are supplying these numbers. You know what I mean? So I'm curious where the
no,
numbers are
absolutely
coming from.
not. Yeah.
Because, like, to deal with homicide death, not homicide,
There were
auto crashes.
4,357 deaths by firearm last year, 4,112 by motor vehicle for kids 1 to 19.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
4,000 kids died in motor vehicles? There's no way.
I
How
wouldn't
many
say there's
people
no
died
way.
in a
There's
motor
300
vehicle?
million people in this country. That's not that many.
Motor vehicle deaths in America.
How many people? It's got to be tens of thousands.
37,000. That's what I'm saying. 37,000 and only 4,000 were kids?
That makes
That's-
sense. I mean, kids aren't driving, so a lot
Like
of times.
1/10?
Okay, but think about it, dude. Kids don't drive.
1/10.
How often have you had a kid in your car?
Yeah, but kids are in cars a lot.
Yes, but also, when have you had a kid in your car? When have I had a kid in my car? There's a lot of people that never have kids in their car, so I would say the risk is a lot higher for.
Yeah,
adults,
but when
so
do
it
you
makes
have a
sense,
chance to
like-
shoot a kid? Like, if you don't have a kid in your car, you also don't have a chance for your kid to shoot themselves. That's what I'm saying. It's just, I'm curious how these numbers were arrived at. That seems,
I mean, I kind of think it's silly to question them when.
I don't. Why would it be silly to question them? these numbers should definitely be questioned.
The analysis of CDC Wonder, Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation, and the global burden of disease data were all used to compile this data. This is like a scientific paper that people did. This is not just like an article. Yeah.
No, I'm curious. Where'd you find it at?
The Kaiser Foundation did it. The research. Dude, there was a really funny clip of one of the congressmen talking to a U.S., like one of the Pentagon officials about something involving China, and he brings up, he's like, I read in this paper that about China, and the guy, he's like, in the Global Times, and then the military guy's like, is that the Global Times, the Chinese newspaper? And the guy's like,
yes,
yeah, it is. What do you think of that? And he's like, well, generally I don't take China's newspapers for accurate information.
Yeah.
It was really funny.
Well, sorry, I'm getting lost in looking at statistics of stuff. I will say, have you ever looked into how gun statistics are arrived at? Ever?
No.
It is, if you're looking into statistics stuff, besides pure opinion-related questions, gun statistics are very, very, very hard to get at.
Yeah, because they intentionally make them hard to get. A lot of organizations.
Kind of, sort of. It's mostly just because our police agencies don't have ways to share all that data together, or don't have ways to access all that data. There's no like centralized database for every police agency. And so two issues. First of all, gun shootings are hard to classify sometimes. Like, to classify something as a gang shooting versus a mass shooting is like kind of a tricky proposition. Like, a mass shooting is anything that involves more than 4 people. So if 4, or I think it might even be 4 or more. So if like 2 groups of 2 people get in a shootout, that's technically a mass shootout. Blah, 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 blah. But like,
if people die and they count those people, I don't see what
well, because like
people that were shot, like
why
does it
skews
matter
the way
if it's a gang or not? Like,
it skews the way you look at like mass shootings versus gang shootings versus like criminal shootings versus blah blah blah. Like, was there a precipitating incident, or was it a shooting precipitated by a mass murder kind of deal? So number one, there's like just classification difficulties, but then beyond that, like, there's no central database for any of these crimes. And so to actually collect these statistics, you have to a lot of times go out to individual agencies and be like, hey, I'm collecting data for this. Can I have access to it? And then like what you can get access to, you can have access to. So if it's not digitized or whatever, you got to go and leaf through some fucking paper reports to get the data on it.
I can see how it's difficult for a lot of things, but I would think gun deaths, like, just talk to hospitals and stuff. Like, I'm sure you can get most of the data from them, like coroners and whatnot. Like, you know, people that do autopsies, they're going to know if somebody got shot and killed. Like, it's not that hard to, and that is going to be reported. Like, cause of death is reported for everybody. So
gunshot wound. Yeah. That's true. I mean, I guess there must be a database or something accessible. Well, that's what I'm looking at right now. And came back to talk in the podcast that I'm hosting. Anyways.
All right. Well, are you guys going to try to... did you want to try to do Tuesday next week with you two? Or
I'm game if Chris is game.
Scott, you could also see... I don't know if you have any other friends that would be interested in joining.
I do not have any other friends. Thank you.
You don't have any friends?
No. I'm going to discuss this with my therapist.
Wednesday or Thursday would be great.
You should secretly record your therapy session, and then we'll just put that out as an episode.
Sweet, I'm down. You know, Chris,
Yeah.
we specifically did pick Tuesday because you said Wednesdays were not good for you. Just want
Yes.
to point that out.
Yeah, it seems like
And-
Tuesdays have been difficult recently.
Tuesdays have also not been good for you.
I'm sorry, man, but yeah, no, next week's spring break, so
Hmm.
yeah.
Okay.
I won't be in Aiken. So.
Well, is there a day that's better for you?
Tuesdays are usually, usually it's really only technically one Tuesday that I wouldn't be able to do it. So normally,
Okay.
Oh, I thought you were saying that. There is only one
You did.
Tuesday. in
I
the
know.
week.
No.
Which is pretty good. 1 out of 4. That's good odds for me.
But yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, we could do next Wednesday for sure.
All right.
Sweet.
Fuck yeah. Maybe I think I'll be at the zoo in San Diego, so maybe I can like briefly call in or something.
Just show us some tigers or something.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think I think we've been going for well over an hour now. I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
I'm showing an hour 5.
Just a little over an hour, yeah.
Nice. The new episode, I'll finish editing it and put it out tonight. Or the one from last week. Yeah.
Sweet.
But catch you next week, listeners. Thanks for tuning in.